Good morning and welcome to the Utopian Cafe for Friday, September 17th. And because it's Friday, we're going to have Stan Phillips here momentarily, but I want to kick off the show today by saying thank you. Last night, and I'm not used to this in life, last night, a member of this universe, Utopian Baseball Universe, which had, again, 61 members on February 1st, we've grown to over 1,000 in the last 6 months. 800 of those were in probably the first 6 weeks after February 1st. His name is Jeff Turner. He reached out to me last night, and and just to give you a little background here, Jeff found me online on Facebook in February, and he asked if I was the author of that baseball book. And I said, well, I have written a baseball book. Which book? And he said it was Two Loves. And I said, yeah, that's me. And he said he found my book in an independent bookstore. And we just, I guess, became friends talking about baseball. He's a Cubs fan, an Indians fan. I told him about the Utopian Baseball Universe. He joined. And we talk often. And last night, he asked, I'm getting a little emotional, but last night he asked my permission to create a GoFundMe, which I'm not even familiar how those work, to be honest. But he wanted to thank me for resparking his interest in baseball. And I was so moved by that. I said, of course, I don't object if you want to do something like that. I can, we can post it to the group. And I woke up this morning, and the universe, have donated $190 to this, and I'm just so touched. I mean, I would do this for nothing. I just enjoy bringing us all together, doing this content, and it was such a selfless thing for Mr. Turner, Jeff, to do. So I wanted to share with you guys. I don't even know what to say. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you to everyone who's donated. Again, I really don't know what to say. Thank you so much for that kind gesture, that wonderful surprise that was brought to my attention last night. So thank you to Jeff and to everyone else. So let's start the show. Let's bring on Stan. And Stan,
morning,
good
Joey.
morning.
It's going to be tough to follow that act. That's a very nice gesture by Mr. Turner, and well deserved on your part too.
Yeah, it was. It's not. It's not something you ever expect to see. But he reached out to me. It was late last night, and he said, "I want to do this for you." And he asked my permission. He said, "I want to share this. He said, I'm gonna do it anyway, but I want your permission to share it with the group." And I said, if you're going through this amount of trouble, of course. So I'm gonna find good use for the funds. Help me to help keep delivering this for the future. So again, thank you, Jeff. We're going to have Jeff on camera in the cafe at some point in the next couple of days, hopefully the next, maybe early next week. So good morning to Stan.
Morning,
we've got
everybody.
This is the second to last weekend of Utopian Baseball Universe action before the playoffs start. Every team has 9 games left. We've had 2 teams clinch postseason berths, Cincinnati and Cleveland. Atlanta and Durham can clinch playoff berths this weekend. And there's a handful of other teams that if they sweep and teams get swept, they can make it. But 2 playoff spots are decided out of the 12. We've got, and I'll actually put these on the bottom of the screen right now. We've got in the East this weekend, the Blue Jays at Phillies, separated by 5 games in the East. Expos and Red Sox, Mets and Nationals. Mets with just a heartbreaking loss last night. It was 2-2 in the eighth. The Mets scored 3 runs in the eighth against Baltimore, and then Baltimore scored 5 runs in the ninth off John Franco. Just a heartbreaking loss. The Mets are now 4 games out of a wild card, 6 games back in the division with 9 games left. Orioles at Yankees this weekend. In the North, we got the Tigers and Cubs, White Sox at Pirates, Reds at Twins, Indians at Brewers. Interesting pitching matchup tonight, Stan. We've got Satchel Paige versus Martin DeHigo, 2 Negro League Hall of Famers at Miller Park tonight on the bumps for those 2 teams. In the South, we got Tampa Bay at Houston, Texas at Florida, the Royals at the Braves, the Cardinals and the Bulls, and then rounding out the slate in the West, we got the Angels at A's, Dodgers at Giants, Mariners at Diamondbacks, Rockies at Padres. One thing of note is that we will have 4 Xbox streams this weekend, and those will be posted to group page a little later this morning. We're gonna have a doubleheader tomorrow, and then we're gonna be celebrating in the Utopian Baseball universe tomorrow our Roberto Clemente Day. We're gonna do that every year on September 18th, and we're gonna celebrate that tomorrow with some posts about Roberto Clemente, and our NBC Game of the Week will feature the White Sox at Pirates tomorrow. So it's going to be a huge weekend in the Utopian. Again, this is the second to last weekend before the playoffs start. Playoffs again start on Wednesday, September 29th. Wall-to-wall coverage that day. We're going to have a special preview show the Monday before. The cafe that morning will be dedicated to it. We're going to have a playoff game at 8 o'clock that morning. And any morning where we have multiple playoff games, one of them is going to be a morning game. And before we formally bring Stan in here for some baseball coverage, I do have an announcement about the cafe. It's so hard to keep track of times because, like, I'm actually at my store from 5 to 9 a.m. some days, so I can't do a cafe at this time about half the time, and sometimes I'm doing it at evening. So starting, I guess, today or Monday, we're going to go to throughout the rest of this season. So through the end of the playoffs, the cafe is going to be either at 7:30 a.m. Central, like we're doing right now, or 5 o'clock p.m. Central, depending on my needs at work. So if I'm not working in the morning, it's going to be 7:30, and then that'll lead right into a playoff game if there is a postseason game. And if I am at the I keep wanting to say restaurant. If I'm at the store, then we'll do a 5 o'clock, and then once the season ends, we're going to move the cafe. We're going to do Mondays and Fridays at 7:30 a.m. and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be 5 o'clock. So that way it's a more uniform time. People know when they can see us. So that'll be happening, I guess, starting today. So again, welcome, Stan.
Thank you, Joey.
It's Friday. Now, admittedly, I don't even know who the Mets play this weekend. Are you familiar with their...
Well, I hope I know because I'll be going to tonight's game. So
nice.
It'll be nice. They'll be playing Philadelphia. So even though by all intents and purposes we're done, it should be an interesting matchup. It's going to be Zach Wheeler against Taijuan Walker tonight. So Taijuan Walker, hopefully he gets a couple good starts in because there's a lot of concern over his depreciation over the course of the year. And it's always good to see Zach Wheeler. So if we roughed up Zach, I'm happy. If he pitches good, once a Met, always a Met. So should be fun. But it's going to be it's going to be tough finishing up the season for the Mets because there's so many good things happening, and yet at the same time there's so many bad things happening. Like Baez, I think they're actually, because of Baez's performance the past month or so, they'll make a concerted effort to sign him. Baez and Lindor are actually doing very, very well, especially since the thumbs down incident. So I think that's one positive sign. Conforto heating up. That's been a positive, but I don't know what's going to happen with him. Maybe they just offer him a qualifying offer. Then we'll see what happens. But it's just a shame that it's come down to this. But yeah, we play the Phillies, and then I think they go to Boston next week, and then Milwaukee. You're going to one of those games, right?
Yeah, I'll be there
And
a week
then
from today.
that should be fun. And then the Marlins and the Braves. So if I can interject an opinion on this week, those 3 games against the Cardinals were the biggest games possible on the Mets schedule. If they had swept the Cardinals right now, they would be like within a game or a half game of the wild card. So losing those 3 basically knocked them out, boosted the Cardinals up back into the race. So the Mets basically knocked themselves out by losing to St. Louis. And as you can see with the schedule that they have now, it's not really a good way to finish the season. It's going to be tough. Every one of those teams except the Marlins is basically a playoff team or 500 or above. So it would have been tough, but still, you play the games, you enjoy them. Hopefully, maybe we see a little DeGrom, maybe we'll see a little Syndergaard, and we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, so the Mets and all of Major League Baseball has, I think, 3 weeks left in their schedule. They culminate, actually, I think their season ends on Sunday, October 3rd. And again, it's been a weird year. You know, the Mets were in first place for over 3 months. Now they find themselves in third place. I want to say 5-6 games out. But anything's possible. Philadelphia and the Mets tonight. Zach Wheeler versus Walker. Didn't Wheeler dominate us earlier in the
Yeah,
season?
he
Like a
did.
two-hitter?
He pitched like his best game of the year that day. He was almost near perfect that day.
Yeah.
That was down in Philadelphia too, which is even a harder ballpark to pitch in. And he pitched one game up here, and I think he did okay, but nothing like he did when he pitched in Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting. But the thing is, there's really no emotion when Zach Wheeler returns. I'm surprised. It's been weird with the Met fan base because it's not the same fans that were there for like 2015 as far as emotions and everything, and it's just weird vibes sometimes coming out of Citi Field.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this in the past that like when when he became a free agent, it's like, should they sign him? Should they, back the Brinks truck up, if you will? And at the time I was looking at the depth of our pitching, with DeGrom and Thor and Stroman, and I'm like, you know what? If we were to lose Wheeler, I don't think it would have as big of an effect as like not bringing in a Lindor or not having a Pete Alonso here, because we were pitching rich. But obviously, in hindsight, you look at what he's done, and that could have been the difference of the season with all the starts lost for DeGrom, and Thor hasn't pitched in 2 years. One could wonder what the season would have looked like with Wheeler going every 5th day in a Mets uniform. But like you said, once a Met, always a Met. I root for him. I root for Matt Harvey. I root for all the guys when they leave, except not when they're playing us, obviously.
Yeah, the weird thing I find is Zach Wheeler wasn't Matt Harvey as far as popularity, but Matt was he got a king's welcome when he returned with Baltimore. But Zach Wheeler, it's like Zach Wheeler. It's like any other pitcher on the mound. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's weird. So you said you're going tonight?
Yeah, going tonight, and then I got one. I always go to the last game. Well, I shouldn't say the last game, the last home game in here. I'll be going next Thursday, and then we ring the curtain down on the season for me.
All right, sounds good. And now you're a Jets fan. Did you watch any of the Giants Redskins last night, or Washington football team?
Yeah, I did. And well, I have a lot of friends who are Giants fans, so it's sort of like the Mets Yankee thing. I kind of root against them, even though I don't like them. But it was an exciting finish, that's for sure. So much happened in the last 5 minutes. Washington scored a touchdown, and then there was like 3 possessions Washington had in the last 5 minutes, and then they won the game at the end. But no, it was good. Good. I mean, neither team's probably going to go anywhere, but it was an exciting game, and I think it's going to be a rough season for the Giants as far as their defense is concerned. They're like Swiss cheese, so
yeah,
it's going to be tough.
NFL's off to a good start as far as exciting, at least national coverage. I still think that Raiders-Ravens game was one of the best opening day Monday night games I've ever seen. Now this again isn't baseball related, but we talk about a lot of things here in the cafe, not just baseball. Saturday Night Live debuts their season 47th season on my birthday, actually Saturday, October 2nd. They haven't announced a host yet. They haven't even announced any cast changes, but that's a kind of a big event in my household is the start of the season. So today's 5 questions for Stan is an SNL edition. Stan, are you ready?
Never been ready, but I'm ready.
He's never been ready, but he's ready.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm an oxymoron.
All right, so SNL edition today. A lot of these they're not even phrased as questions. We're just gonna do it. Here we go. Number 1 for Stan. For SNL, who is your favorite reoccurring character in the history of the show?
Now, when you say reoccurring, does it have to be someone from the actual staff?
No, it doesn't have to be. Just a character that they've done, whether it's through popularity or just they've written it into the show like multiple times. So, like for an example, like John Lovitz did like Annoying Man on Weekend Update, where he would just eat tinfoil and.
Well, I'll go with. Now, am I saying his name right? Is it Bill Murray with Gilda Radner, Brad Rubner? That was Lisa. Todd. That's it. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but he was my favorite. And I also like Steve Martin when he came in as the wild and crazy guy. Now, I'm bad on names. I'm bad on names in general. And I forgot what his name was. The Czechoslovakian brothers. Those were my favorites.
I know what characters you're thinking of, and I too can't think of the names. So that was Aykroyd, right? Aykroyd and Martin.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, those were fantastic. I was actually born 9 days before the show premiered, so I always think of SNL as like my little baby brother, the funnier of the brothers. SNL.
Right.
My actual the first impression I ever did as a kid was Bill Murray as the lounge singer, and I would just walk into the kitchen and I would say, "Hey, Mom, make me a PB&J."
You know, I think I do that too, but it's not even consciously. It's just like embedded in my brain, and it just comes out sometimes. It's the whole shtick. Either he stole it from somebody, or he just made it more famous, or it is an original on his part. But yeah, it leaves a lasting impression without a doubt.
Yeah, one of my favorite, just if you put it on, I instantly just cry laughing is when he and I think these were improv too. I know the show is very carefully crafted as far as every line. It's not an improv show, but when he did the Star Wars theme, I think he actually came up with those lyrics either right before air or like a day before the show. He's just like, yeah, we're just play the instrumental and I'm gonna kind of wing it, and that's to this day still one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Without a doubt.
All right, question number 2, SNL edition, 5 questions for Stan. Who's your favorite host in the show's history?
Ooh, there have been so many. Wow. Well, here's the trivia question. Who's hosted Saturday Night Live the most?
I believe it's Alec Baldwin. I think
you're right about that.
I think he passed up Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I think they've been going kind of neck and neck, but I think right now Baldwin is in the lead.
And the reason why I bring that up is because he is the leader, and then Steve Martin second would be Steve Martin. I'm just a big Steve Martin fan. He's another guy. Everything he does well, whether it's serious acting or whatever. And it's almost like he became a part of the Saturday Night Live cast. So that's why I'll choose Steve Martin.
There's actually a book I've read multiple times. It's about the history of the show, and they actually interview all these cast members and writers and hosts. And there's a lot of people that were fans of the show that just assumed he was in the cast in the 70s because him and Buck Henry hosted multiple shows every year for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Well, Buck was the writer on the show, right? He was one of the writers.
No, and again, people think so, but Buck Henry, for the first 5 years of the season, he hosted a show early in the season, and then he hosted the season finale for the first 5 years.
I do remember him hosting,
yeah. But Steve Martin is actually one of the rumored hosts for the premiere in 3 weeks. I've heard a couple names: Kim Kardashian, Steve Martin. Couple other names that I would love to see. Steve Martin. He hasn't done it in a while.
And you know how Steve Martin got his start in show business?
I'm not familiar. I'd love to hear this, actually.
He was one of the writers on the Carol Burnett show. It's
Interesting.
sort of like Conan O'Brien, and he was the writer on The Simpsons, and that's how he was actually a writer only. And then he got his break that way. And
That's
just,
unbelievable.
I'm not here to plug. You do your YouTube cast. Well, there's a good thing on Hulu right now with him and Martin Short, and I forgot who, Selena Gomez. It's a 10-part miniseries where they're actually doing a podcast about a murder in their building. And it's on week. I've seen the first 4 episodes. So anyone out there, if you're a Steve Martin and Martin Short fan, check it out. It's pretty good. I can't wait for the next one to come up every week. So
I'll definitely have to check that out. All right, question 3 for Stan, SNL edition. What's your favorite sketch of all time on Saturday Night Live?
now, when you say sketch, it could be just one
Yeah.
one particular one, or just sketches that are okay.
So just like when you think of SNL, what's the one? And it could be reoccurring, or it could be just like a one-off sketch where it's like, this is what I think of when I think of SNL.
Well, I'm going to answer what the first thing that came to the top of my head. It's when Wayne's World came on. For whatever reason, I was an adult already, but it brought me back to like being a teen and living vicariously through the brothers. Well, not the brothers, the Wayne's World characters. And that, to me, when you ask that question, that's the first thing that came to my head. So I'm going to stick with that. How about you?
This will never change. It's the Chippendale sketch with Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley.
Yes.
The reason why is that I actually lost my grandma in September of 1990, and this sketch aired in early October of 1990, and it felt like for like a month I didn't give myself permission to laugh or feel any joy because I was just so upset. And that night I was watching the show with my mom, and we both lost it. We were just laughing so hard. She hugged me, and I said, is it okay for us to laugh again? And she's like, yes, this is exactly what we needed. So whenever I see that, I get really emotional thinking about that night. That will always be number one for me.
Well, I don't know if they're sketches or not, but there are 2 things that I'm a big music fan. So you mentioned Chris Farley. When you mentioned Chris Farley, the first thing that comes into my head is, well, there's a lot of things, but I always loved his interview with Paul McCartney.
Oh,
it was just fantastic. That's how I would be conducting the interview if I was Chris Farley. And then the other one was Jimmy Fallon with Mick Jagger and the glass.
The mirror.
Yeah, he was better than Mick Jagger. And here's a little side note. You see, once you ask a question, I go off on the edge. When my daughter was going to school at the University of Rhode Island, they'd always have Parents Weekend.
Yeah.
And they always had a headline entertainer there all the time. And one year it was Jimmy Fallon. And I got to tell you, Jimmy Fallon is so talented that he could have his own like vaudeville show where he was doing all the musicians. And you swore if you closed your eyes, you were listening to the musicians that he was imitating at the time. So hats off to Jimmy Fallon. He's amazing.
Jimmy Fallon, one of my favorite Fallon moments on the show, it was Family Feud, and it was stars of the 70s versus stars of today or something. And Jimmy Fallon was playing John Travolta on both teams. So like he would be like 70s Travolta, and then you would see like his shadow run behind the camera to put on the new wig to be
the one on the side.
So funny.
Yeah.
All right. So with all the talk about SNL's premiere coming up, Stan, who would be your dream host? Someone who maybe hasn't done the show in the past that you would love to see host Saturday Night Live?
Well, I think you know from my past who my favorite all-time TV personality is, and I know it'll never happen, but just David Letterman, just for him doing the monologue when he comes out, and he'd be goofing on Saturday Night Live when it comes out, or goofing the fact that he's a host, and just see him in a couple of sketches, that would be my dream host. And that's just a personal favorite. I don't ever see that happening, so it's out of the realm of possibility. But like you said, if it's going to be someone they haven't announced yet, I like to see Steve Martin come back. And you never know, it could be him.
So the funny thing about Letterman was he was actually supposed to host the season finale in one of the first 10 seasons, like season 8 or 9. But they had a writer's strike, and the last 4 shows of the season were canceled. But it was supposed to be David Letterman hosting a late May show in like 1984. That
Oh,
would have
that would have
been
been great.
unbelievable.
He was at
And then
he was peak. He was at his peak back then.
yeah, just unbelievable. And I share Stan's sentiment. David Letterman is my number one funniest man of all time. I think him and Murray are right there, 1 and 2. But one of the reasons we're doing an SNL theme today is the sad news about Norm Macdonald's passing a couple days ago. Do you have any Norm Macdonald memories or favorite moments from his life or career?
Well, going back to Letterman, just him being on Letterman all the time, his dry sense of humor, his delivery. And I hate to say this, but I think the majority public just didn't get him. You have to be a little bit of a weird character like myself to get him. And if you do, he's one of the funniest guys of all time. I don't think he was necessarily mainstream, but those who got him, it was just fantastic. And I just loved his monologues, not only on Letterman, but whenever he was on any other like stand-up show or variety show or talk show. I always loved just him telling jokes and talking to the audience for about 10 minutes. How about yourself?
I think his just his delivery. I think he's the best just joke teller of all time. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't do, like Seinfeld does a lot of just observational, like, hey, I can't believe, this and that. But Norm Macdonald will just say, like, I'm going to tell you some jokes, and he would deliver them. Towards the end of his career, you could tell he's just kind of like reading them, and I don't know if that had to do with like a side effect of his cancer, like if it was memory or whatever. But he would just like have the joke in his hand. But my favorite Norm Macdonald moment, it wasn't even an SNL related appearance. He may have been on the show, plugging the show, but like he was on Conan O'Brien, and he was the first guest. The second guest was Courtney Thorne Smith from Melrose Place, and then back then the first guest would just move down the couch, and he kept interrupting her interview. And she was talking about Melrose Place, and like 5 minutes into it, he's like, "Wait, are you talking about that TV show Melrose Place?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm on the show. Like, do you even know who I am?" And his response to that was, "Oh yeah, you're that talented, really nice talk show guest." And then if I remember correctly, I think like Andy was like whispering her name so that he could use the name, but just that kind of humor. And then I mentioned this with Tim last night on the Orioles Mets broadcast. His most recent thing, I guess he does a podcast, or he did a podcast called Norm Macdonald Live, where he took an old recycle joke that I know he's referred to in the past, where he said, this particular airline was voted for the 9th straight year to be the best flight experience. And then for the 20th straight year, the worst flight experience is 9/11 Airlines. And just saying that, you would think,
that's
okay,
touchy territory.
yeah, you would think that would be the punchline. But then he follows it up with, he said something to the effect of, what a terrible name for an airline. It almost makes you think of that tragedy. Just that kind of humor.
But you see that's me and you like that humor.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think mainstream America gets it
Yeah.
necessarily. So that's why you were talking about Seinfeld and Norm Macdonald. There's no way in hell you can even compare Jerry Seinfeld to Norm Macdonald. I think Jerry Seinfeld is so scripted that he takes topics and forces it. And I'll be honest with Jerry, I would never buy a ticket to see Jerry Seinfeld as a comedian. I think in Seinfeld, he had the perfect cast, and he had Larry David. And we could save this for other shows, but to me, Larry David is the Jerry Seinfeld. He made Jerry Seinfeld. So, but Norm Macdonald, I would go see just due to the fact, like you said, he just says things that we all think, and he turns into a comedy skit, and it's just fantastic. Well, he did, I should say, he did. And it was just fantastic the way he did that. I could listen to him like for an hour and not even be bored at all. So it's a sad day that we lost him, but
yeah. And I've spent hours, I'm not even exaggerating, probably hours every day since we found out about this. I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, just going on YouTube, the Conan appearances, the stand-up, the old SNL updates. Just an incredible loss. Very sad.
Yeah.
All right. So, Stan, we will see you again on Monday on Baseball, A Way of Life. So if you guys are watching this right now, check out Stan's group, Baseball, A Way of Life, New York Mets, A Way of Life, the Fun Stuff group. Stan has me on his show every Monday at 7:30. He returns the favor. He's going to ask me some questions on Monday. And again, going forward with the cafe, throughout the end of the postseason, we're going to do 7:30. We're basically going to move it from 7 to 7:30 so that it's, we're uniform with pretty much all the other days. If I'm not at the store, we're going to do 5 o'clock. Those are going to be the only 2 times you'll see the cafe going forward, 7:30 or 5. And I'll usually announce a day in advance when you can see that. So Stan will be with me again every Friday at 7:30 Central. Once the season ends, we're going to bookend the weeks with Monday and Fridays at 7:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5, unless there's some sort of store need where I need to move that on Monday or Friday. But Stan, thanks again for being in the cafe.
And can I make a public service announcement?
Make a public service announcement, please.
Okay, I just want to, again, hats off to Mr. Turner for doing this GoFundMe. And if anything, it'll help Joey maintain the cost of doing this all the time. So you have to buy, this whole thing we do here isn't free, this little screen thing. So it'll be a great help. And again, it's good that you're recognized and someone recognized you. And let's keep this ball rolling. We're only starting, buddy.
Thanks. Thank you thanks for saying that, Stan. And again, thanks, Jeff Turner, for creating that last night. What a wonderful, selfless, beautiful thing that you did. And we'll make sure to put those funds to good use. And again, thank you. Everyone have a great weekend. Stan, have fun at the game tonight.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on Monday. And then again, we'll post to the group here shortly what those Xbox streams are going to be for the week. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday in the cafe.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.